you've been ready. You've been ready for longer than you think. And I know that because I've spent years not acting like it. First class degree in mathematics, masters in computational finance, published a book, built companies from literally zero, even have a PhD in the works. And guess what? I still caught myself thinking, maybe when it's finished, then I'll be credible enough to say what I want to say and how I actually think and what I actually think. But friends, that is the validation trap. And by the end of this video, I'm going to show you exactly what it's costing you and 4 steps to get out of it. Because the clock on this is not neutral. It actually runs against you while you wait. I wish you caught that. Let me set the scene. In 2020, I published Start Now, a guide for aspiring entrepreneurs. And this was from what I'd learned in business, so I had the knowledge, I had the experience. The book was good, if I may say so myself, but I hadn't built an audience first. And that's because in the years when I was writing the book, I was waiting until I felt ready to be visible, instead of building the visibility while developing expertise. So when it launched, guess what? Not many people actually saw it. And it wasn't because I didn't have the expertise, because hey, this is what I did full time. The audience wasn't there. And it's just because I kept waiting. The audience wasn't there because I kept waiting. That decision cost me years of compounding. And I see multipotentialists making the same decision every week. In fact, making the same mistake every week. Let's look at what's actually happening. To understand this, let's take a look at Dr. Young, Valerie Young. She is a researcher and she wrote a book on the secret thoughts of successful people. She spent ages just studying people who felt like imposters. Her finding was this: the people most likely to feel unqualified are the people with the most range. Let that sit. The people who feel most unqualified are the people that have range, and that's because they are aware of everything that they do not know. Imagine that. And for us multipotentialists, this is actually compounded because at the same time you could feel like the expert but also feel like a novice. Imagine that. And that's because we operate in multiple domains and we're just hyper aware that we don't know this, we don't know that. So here's the kicker, right? We use the domain where we feel the newest. For instance, I'm new to content creation on YouTube, but we use this as the reason to stay quiet across everything. And we let the weakest link set the permission level for the whole change. And listen, I want to put the real cost in front of you, not an abstract one, the actual cost. Every month that you wait, someone else is building the audience that should be listening to you. I know this is literally me talking to myself from back in the day. And they're getting to the rooms that you should be in. They're being positioned as the expert that you already are. And here's the thing that will stay with you. The audience you need for the book you eventually write, the project you eventually do, they needed to start meeting you 3 years ago. So the clock is not neutral. The clock is not neutral at all. It runs against you while you wait. Another example, Brené Brown was a social work researcher at the University of Houston. Before her TED Talk in 2010, which became one of the most watched TED Talks of all time, watch it if you haven't, she was largely unknown outside academic circles. But she did not wait until she had written 4 books and got all the academic validation. She literally just showed up. She showed up in a church basement in Houston, gave a talk, somebody filmed it, and her expertise, I mean, that was already there. It'd been there for years. But what changed was the visibility. That film, the fact that she was filmed in church, that has now helped her to write 6 #1 New York Times bestsellers. Think of that. The expertise preceded the visibility, and the visibility was literally just a switch for her. The validation trap shows up in 3 specific ways. I want to name them so that you can recognize for yourself. Now, the first one is your credential. You're stacking credentials all the time. There's always one more qualification to get, one more course, one more certification before you actually feel ready to do what you need to do. This is not bad in itself. but when they're being used to procrastinate, when they're being used as a permission slip to delay visibility, they're expensive. Now, the second thing, and I've been guilty on this many times, is being a perfectionist. You're like, oh, you know, the content is almost ready, but the website still needs one more pass. The offer just needs a bit more refinement before you put it out. And, you know, I want to change the color in this. I want to add a new feature. Listen, being a perfectionist is literally you just procrastinating in a lab coat. It looks responsible, but trust me, it's not. Just get it out there. Third one is waiting for an external signal. You're waiting for a book deal or a speaking invitation or speaking contract, someone to give you a job offer that signals that you're ready. Listen, you're waiting for an invitation to the table for evidence that you belong at that table, but real life doesn't work like that. Here's what I know from, you know, working with people who've got decades of knowledge. The invitation almost never comes first. Visibility comes first, and then the invitation follows. You do not get the table by waiting to be called. You build the table. So we've diagnosed the problem. You know exactly what you're doing wrong and why it's wrong. You need steps to come out of this trap, right? Here are 4 steps. This is the part that you can actually implement. The first one is to separate your qualification from your permission. You do not need to finish the thing before you start being visible about the thing. I'm not saying brag about the results before it's out, but I'm going to use myself as an example. I posted about my PhD research while it's still in progress. I wrote about publishing while I was still learning. And the learning and the sharing are not sequential, they're parallel. Okay? Step 2, publish your thinking, not your conclusions. The way to think about it is you don't need the final answer to actually have something worth saying. The questions you're sitting with, the patterns you're noticing, the frameworks you're developing, that is content, that is value, that is visibility. Step 3, use what you already have. Make a list of every piece of expertise you carry right now. Not what you're developing, but what you actually already have. You might just blow your own mind thinking of that. You probably have years of acting experience, professional experience, academic hard work, hard-won experience. That list is actually longer than you think, and most of it is already worth sharing. Step 4 and the last one, make the first small move. Not the book, not the course, those are big ones. You don't have to do a full rebrand either. Just start with one little thing, one post, one video, one conversation where you say what you actually think without qualifying it to death. Because visibility compounds, but it needs a starting point. Separate your qualification from your permission. Publish your thinking, not your conclusions. Use what you already have and make the first small move. That is the way out. So let me bring it back. We were talking about validation trap in this video and how it's the pattern of waiting for external validation or permission before sharing the expertise that you already have. It shows up as credential stacking, being a perfectionist, and waiting for the external signal. And the real cost is not delayed confidence, but it's compounding invisibility. I gave you 4 steps out already as well. How to separate your qualification from your permission, publish your thinking, not your results, use what you already have, and make the first small move. Trust me, with all of these, things will begin to change in your favor. Now, 2 small things before I go. First, if you want a framework on getting clear on what you're building and creating the structure to do it, I do have that framework ready. It's called the Dream to Reality framework and it's linked below. It's built specifically for multipotentialists who are done with vague intentions. The second thing as well, if you're still trying to figure out how your passions connect, I have a quiz. It's free. This will help you find your through line. It's quick, it's specific, it's also linked below. You have been ready for longer than you think. Start acting like it. Until next time, I'm Sharon Komalafi. I'll see you on the next one.